千里之行，始于足下。A journey of 1,000 miles begins beneath the feet. We now gather in the Tao to travel the journey together. Welcome to Tao Talks with Derek Lin, where we take a deep dive into the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. As always, I want to extend my welcome to you. Thank you for joining us. I would like to invite you to center your thoughts and direct your attention to this moment in time, to the here and now, to be fully present and mindfully aware as we are ready ourselves for this sacred process in the Tao with one another. Here's one way to tell. If Wu Ming, the nameless, as you see here in this slide title, if it is a significant concept in the Tao Te Ching, then we would expect that Wu Ming would be reiterated, repeated in the other chapters of the Tao Te Ching. So we look and we see that Wu Ming appears a total of 5 times throughout the Tao Te Ching. In addition to the one time in chapter 1, it appears 4 other times in 3 chapters. This is significant given the overall brevity of the Tao Te Ching. Remember, the original Tao Te Ching, upon its writing, was most likely on bamboo slips. The bamboo slips are small. You can't write a lot of characters on them. So it was extremely important to be as concise as you possibly can be. And then, given that's the case, if you repeat certain concepts multiple times, it just means that it's very important. So let me show you guys the repeats, the reiterations. The first time beyond chapter 1 that we see the repetition is chapter 32. It starts with the Tao eternally nameless. And you see the first line there. Wu Ming shows up as the last 2 characters. This is significant because Wu Ming appears, the 2 characters appear at the very end of the line. You therefore cannot put a pause between Wu and Ming like you did, like you could in that interpretation of chapter 1. You cannot do that because the Ming character in this case, the last character, cannot be a verb. There's nothing behind it to provide any kind of context. So here, it can only be Wu Ming, nameless. Then again, we have Wu Ming appearing in chapter 37. I shall restrain them with the simplicity of the nameless. And then repeated, simplicity of the nameless. So here, it is clear grammatically, according to the grammar of ancient classical Chinese, that it has to be the nameless. It has to be Wu Ming. You can't break it up in the middle like you did in that interpretation of chapter 1. It would not make any sense in classical Chinese if we did that. So 37 lends additional support of keeping Wu Ming together. And then chapter 41, the Tao is hidden and nameless. Here again, it's appearing in the last 2 characters of that line, which means nameless is the only possible translation and interpretation for that. It cannot be broken up. So this is already pretty compelling. If the interpretation wu followed by a pause, followed by ming, if that is really a thing, it should appear elsewhere in the Tao Te Ching as well. Wu ming together, that is a term, it's an important term that does appear several times throughout the Tao Te Ching, as we can see here. Not only that, but we can see Wu Ming in Tao classics other than the Tao Te Ching to lend further support. One such example is Qing Jing Jing, and this is documented in my book, The Tao of Tranquility. In the very beginning, the term appears. If you can take a look several lines down on line 6, it says, the great Tao has no name. Da Dao Wu Ming. There again, it appears as the last two characters. So Wu Ming is a thing. It's a concept. It's an idea in the Tao. It should not be broken up as two characters. Just like you cannot break apart the character Wu and Ming here. They form one term. The Qing Jing Jing itself was written to be a fusion of Tao and Buddhist teachings. And that's why it spoke the same terms, the same concepts, the same truths. Then, if one were to explore further, there's one other proof that the Wu Ming interpretation is correct. There is a very old edition of the Tao Te Ching itself, the He Shang Gong edition. It dates back about 2,200 years ago, so several hundred years after the time of Lao Tzu. In that version of the Tao Te Ching, it clearly puts a space after Wu Ming. And this conclusively settles the issue. It has to be Wu Ming, the nameless. Despite all of these compelling evidence, the compelling evidence, as you see and have heard, there's still that interpretation that many students of the Tao Te Ching subscribe to. So now what we can do is that we can review and summarize what we have learned so far. We have the named and the nameless. The named is the mother of myriad things. So that's what the blue text here signifies. Then what about the nameless? The nameless is the origin of heaven and earth. What I hope to show with this particular slide is that the named and the nameless, they form a complementary duality, yin and yang. So what exactly is the named? What have we seen so far? The named, the most basic meaning is just all living things, all life, the myriad things of the material world. They're named. And it's beyond just the living things. The scope goes beyond. It's all the physical manifestations in the physical universe. So by that, I am talking about things that are not necessarily alive, but are also given names. Rocks, mountains, everything other than living things that exist physically in the physical world, they are also named. And lastly, we also should include all that can be perceived with the physical senses. And this is because there are many things happening in the material world, in the physical universe. Sometimes what we observe are phenomena, are manifestations that are temporary and passing and transient. Nevertheless, we can see them, we can hear them, we can talk about them, we name them, they've been named. And then what about the nameless? What's the other side of it? So remember, this is yin and yang, complementary duality. So for the named, the other side is the nameless. So when we talk about the nameless, it's not about life. It's not about the myriad things of the material world. Rather, the nameless is the unbounded field of infinite potentialities. By that, I am talking about this void where everything comes from. This field of potentialities is basically the birthing ground for materialization of possibilities. There are so many things that are possible. Not all of them are given the opportunity to manifest in the physical universe, but they all belong to this infinite field, unlimited field of infinite possibilities. Another way to look at it, when we talk about that field, we're talking about, for instance, life forms, life or people, human beings that don't exist right now, but they exist as potentialities in the field. And whenever there's a birth, whenever there's a conception of a human being, that is the possibility or potentiality starting to take shape, and in the course of time becomes a person. So that's one way to think of it. But the second bullet point here is about the metaphysical aspect of reality. So this is the spiritual side of life. It also includes the intangibles, the non-spiritual concepts. Intangibles, concepts, things like premonition. Is that a thing? Yeah, we can perceive premonition with our physical senses. It is not something that we can see. We can't hear the sound of premonition, but it's in the mind. We feel it. Concepts like causality, cause and effect, karmic mechanism, we can't see it. We can't touch it. We know it's there. It's an intangible, but we know it exists. How about the concept of the truth? What is the truth? What does it mean when something is the truth? Those concepts, they are all intangible, not physical objects that we can see and touch. The concept of being. I know that I exist. You know that you exist. That existence, that very concept, it's intangible. It has physical manifestations in terms of your body that other people can see and touch. But existence itself in your mind, your sentience, your consciousness, those are much, much harder to quantify. And what about human to human, soul to soul connections? Intangible, can't touch it, can't feel it, can't hold it, not a physical thing. And when we talk about the metaphysical aspect of reality, in my humble opinion, this is exactly what makes human beings so interesting. It makes being human, having the human experience so interesting? Because you and I, we get to have experiences that don't lend themselves to purely physical explanations. It's absolutely fascinating. And whenever I encounter the metaphysical, I love to learn more about it. Lastly, emptiness, the void, the empty essence of existence. As you have seen in the first couple of bullets, the emptiness is not empty. The void is not a vacuum. Just like the first bullet says in this column, the emptiness is full of possibilities, every possibility just waiting to manifest as reality. And here's what I would like to say about that. With great mastery of the Tao, you become connected to the void, the emptiness of the Tao, the unbounded field of infinite potentialities. With your mastery, you can pick and choose the possibilities that you wish to manifest as reality. Now, we have seen quite a few concepts here. I want to invite everyone to take a moment to think about how these concepts apply to you. We have, for instance, talked about the Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. And also, the name that can be named is not the eternal name. Apply that to human scale. Apply that to human level. Let me suggest one thing. You are in the Tao, and the Tao is in you. So in a real sense, you are the Tao. The Tao is you. So is everyone else. Can you be totally described with words? I would suggest the answer is no. You cannot be completely described with words. Whatever that being is that perhaps looks like you, that can be completely described with words, that's not you. Why not? Because the Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. The you that can be described with words is not the eternal you. There is much more to you than any verbal or written descriptions. I hope you agree. And let's talk about names. You are both the named and the nameless. What do I mean by that? Well, I know you have a name. You typed it in when you joined this meeting. So I see your name in the list of names. And don't get me wrong, identity is important. We all need some way to identify ourselves. Therefore, you are both the named and the nameless. Lastly, as we're talking about here, being the source. The Tao is you. You are the Tao. The Tao and you are one. The Tao is the source, and so are you. You are the ultimate source of everything in your life. Even the things that happen to you seemingly beyond your control. You're the source of everything. And this is one of the reasons why I say every individual is more powerful, more incredibly powerful than he or she imagines. And because of that, you want to hopefully study the Tao with me so that you can be the one to determine everything for yourself, because you are the source and you should recognize and embrace this power in you. our meeting has come to an end, but the journey continues on. Until next time, may the Tao fill you with peace and happiness.